Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. How's everybody doing today? Sorry I'm late, and YouTube isn't sending out notifications, so it is what it because it only does like, I don't know, you get a limited number of notifications per 24 hours, and I guess it also depends on how many subscribers you have, blah, 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 blah. So it is what it is. Let me get over here to YouTube. Also, sorry for being late due to clicking update. That was a poor decision on my part. Not even sure what I was thinking doing that. Hey, Cement Shoes, how you doing? So let's get over to, oh, StreamYard's done fancied it up. They have present screen instead of share. Like the whole thing is different now. It says present instead of share. All right, StreamYard. Being all fancy. Hey, Nonstop Mom, how you doing? Good morning. They're still not in court, so I have no idea what we have in store for us this morning. I don't know who's going to be testifying. I know yesterday they left off with one of the special agents from the BCI talking about Facebook. And that was after lunch. And it was kind of a kerfuffle because, they call her to the stand. Bless her heart, she gets up there, states her name, her occupation, lists all of her education and skills and whatnot. And then she goes to present this PowerPoint of the Facebooks, and they stop it because the defense objects. And of course, like he's done 11 billion other times in this case, when he voices his objection, he doesn't do it anywhere in the vicinity of a microphone, so you can't even hear what he's objecting to. And so they stop and have this hearing. But what's weird about it is when they were right before they start the hearing out of the presence of the jury, right, they escort George Washington Wagner. I almost said George W., but that's not going to work. George Washington Wagner the fourth out of the courtroom, and I couldn't figure that part out. That's I'm not sure what that was about, but that happened. And then, to be perfectly honest with you, I was watching in my room, and I was laying in the bed, and I fell asleep. So I actually don't really know what she testified to, or if they finished with her or not. I feel awful about it. It's just the more examples of the continued professionalism you'll see here on the word. So just a okay. They're still not in session yet. I don't know who the 5 people that are watching that ain't speaking are, but good morning, good afternoon, whatever it is. Nonstop Mom. I mean, I don't know. I feel like this is the only thing that I'm I'm annoyed with a little bit with the camera work. I don't know at the beginning of the trial, it seemed like whoever was operating the camera was doing a better job. I don't know if they got like a pinch hitter in or what the deal is, but this week's camera work has been quite frankly subpar and annoying. And so I just don't have patience for it. Oh no, cement shoes. Why you don't make mimis? You need to go 9 nights. 8 hours of sleep is important. That's why I be taking naps. Because sometimes I can't get my night sleep, my whole 8 hours in at night. Because it's hard for me to sleep. Yeah, me too. It's hard for me to sleep. And so when I can, I do. If there is a period of time or a point in time, it doesn't matter what's going on. If I fall asleep naturally, I don't try to fight it, because Lord knows when it's going to come around again. So it is what it is. Insomnia is the worst. I'm so sorry for you. I'm so sorry. It sucks. So like yesterday, we had that weird zoom into one of the Roden family members' ponytail, which was ridiculous. Then we have Tabitha on the stand the day before, and yet at no point during some of the most emotional, I guess is probably the best word for it, testimony, they don't pan over to George to see what he's doing. Just if I were to give a Google review on the camera, you know how Google is. They make you at least give a star or half a star. So you'd be getting half a star, camera person. So, yeah. I don't know what's going to happen today. I don't even know why they're so late. Oh, goodness. I'm sorry. I don't mean to yawn in your ear. That's so rude. Okay. Oh, here we go. I'm sorry, Nonstop Mom. All right. Good morning, Support with Steffa. Good morning. Hey, while we're waiting, if you haven't done so already, could you give your girl a thumbs up? I'd appreciate it. Por favor. Of course they heard me. Nonstop Mom. I'm a Jedi from way back. Oh my gosh. They better come on before I am forced to show y'all the thing I taught Mac. You know how some cats are talkers? Mac is a talker. And I'll be standing in the kitchen, and he'll start talking to me, and I'll start calling him Stuart, and I'll be like, Stuart, what does Mama say about sliding down the banister? And he'll look at me, what does Mama say? And then he'll start talking, and it's funny. It's funny to me. So, yeah. Let's see if I can get him to do it. Hold on. Mac, what are you doing? It's not going to do it. He's been very busy, very aggressively grooming himself. Never seen a cat be so grooming themselves as this one.
Good morning. Good morning. This case styled State of Ohio Plaintiff versus George.
Let me make sure we're turned up all the way.
Case number 2018 CR 155. This is another day of trial. The defendant is present in the courtroom with his attorneys John Parker and Richard Nash. The State of Ohio is represented by prosecuting attorney Rob Junk and special prosecuting attorneys Angela Canepa and Andrew Wilson.
I just do little. Good morning, Gail. Good to see you. I just like to do little things every day to entertain myself. I have to.
I understand that the council's been made aware of this, but we're going to move the front row of alternate jurors. That'd be B71 and B38, one space to the right. That will have two purposes. One will fill in the seat vacated by B20, who was an alternate until until she replaced a juror A271. So she's now seated.
I do remember that.
Fill that seat, and it will also ensure that juror B71 remains out of camera shot. It's a little difficult based upon the relocation of the camera to keep her back of her head out of the camera shot. So that, and I don't see any problem there. In fact, probably it's an improvement. It puts
what are you doing?
All the jurors a little closer to the witness chair. Anyway.
What are you doing?
That's acceptable. I assume.
Start. Start.
Is our counsel presiding to bring the jury up then? Yes.
I just like to talk to him and mess with him when he's being really like obtuse. And let me tell you something, Matt can be extremely obtuse. I will call him Curtis. I'm like, what are you doing, Curtis? You ought to see the look that he gives me when he does not like it. And I don't even know where I came up with Curtis. Fidgety. Cement shoes, very fidgety. She did hold that scene from the docudrama Small Sacrifices where she's tapping her pencil. That did happen. The she was also she had reactions to testimony, like rolling her eyes, sighing, yeah. I do that too, Amelia. I'd be like, look what I can do. Start. What does Mama say? I don't want to say. Yes, cement shoes. Very much. Like Lori that. You know what I think we're going to do today, boys and girls? I think we are going to move this whole shebang out of doors. It is 66 degrees and sunny here in the Floridas at 9:13 a.m. And that is perfect weather to sit outside on the porch and true crime it up.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good to see you all here this morning. We begin another day of trial.
Nonstop, Mom. If you want to go make memes, babe, go make memes. I will not judge you.
Next witness.
Yes, Your Honor, we are. State of recall, Agent Brian.
All right.
Right hand, do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth that you shall answer unto God?
Yes, sir.
Seated. The state may examine.
Thank you, Your Honor. Can you reintroduce yourself to the jury, please?
I'm sorry,
My name's
Nonstop,
Brian White.
Mom.
I was a BCI crime scene agent when this case took off. Currently a lieutenant with the Madison County Sheriff's Office in charge of the investigation section.
Okay. And back when you said this case took off back in April 2016, were you called out to process one of the scenes involved in this case?
Yes, I was.
And which scene was that?
3122 Union Hill Road.
And did you already testify about that for this jury?
Yes, I have.
And in addition to that, were you also called or requested to do some follow-up processing of scene 2, which is 4199 Union Hill Road?
Yes, I was.
And did you already testify to the jury about your work there at scene 2?
Yes, I did.
Now, in addition to that, did you also, or were you also requested to assist in some search warrants that investigators executed as part of their investigation in this case?
Yes, I was.
Now, as a crime scene agent there working for BCI, is it common for crime scene agents to go out with the investigators when they do a search warrant?
Yeah, we would go out with them on numerous search warrants, basically for documentation, to photograph, to collect the evidence. And if anything needed submitted to the laboratory, then we'd take care of that generally too. So wasn't just, it was any type of search warrants. We would assist with narcotic search warrants.
Cement Shoes is right.
Investigations, homicides.
They advertise 5
anytime we
hours,
were
but that's
asked
a
to
lie.
go.
It's really like 4.
And back in May of 2017, as part of your work in this case, were you asked to participate in a couple of search warrants?
And it's
at
only
260
4 if you
Peterson
get the
Road?
extra
I will.
strength. If you get
Now,
regular,
if you
you're going to
could
get
walk
like
us through when you're asked to
2,
assist in a
maybe
search
an
like
hour
that,
and a half.
how do the investigators coordinate with you? How do you guys do the logistics of getting ready to go do a search warrant?
Generally, when one of the investigators or the requesting person, whether that be a police agency or one of our own within BCI, they'll meet up with the lead crime scene person, and they will say, we want to search this property. This is what we're looking for, and this is what, if we find anything, we want you to submit to the laboratory, or we want you to turn it over to whomever. In this particular situation, Special Agent Scheider was our requester, and he requested that we assist him on the property on the first time we searched it.
Okay. And typically prior to going onto these properties and conducting these searches, do the agents get a search warrant from a court that allows them to do so?
Yes,
Okay. And did they do so in this case?
that's correct.
And I want to take you to May 10th, 2017. On that day, did you participate in an initial search of 260 Peterson Road?
Yes.
And tell us about just the general logistics of how you set that up. Was it a big crew? Was it an extensive search? What was the general plan for searching the property on that day?
On that day, on the May 10th search, it was set up to be a smaller, more preliminary search of the property, not to not draw attention to the property, so to speak. So it was a small crew. There was only a handful, maybe 5 or 6 of us that went there. And it was on purpose. We didn't want to make a big spectacle out of it, just because we didn't want media attention. We didn't want anything at that particular stage of the investigation. So there was only, like I said, about 4 or 5 of us, and we went to the property, we documented it, and collected some items from the search.
And based on your career in law enforcement and your knowledge, your training, experience, is sometimes part of an investigation trying to keep your suspects from knowing what you're doing.
Correct, and that's the stage we were at with this search warrant, was to do the best we could to not draw attention, to let them know that we were searching that property.
Aw,
Back on
nonstop,
May 10th,
Mom.
2017, did you
I'm
eventually
sorry.
link up and go to the property?
Hope
at
everybody
260
gets their
Peterson?
sleep
We did.
straightened out.
Did you meet with the investigators there? Did you not carpool, but caravan together? Did you? How did you get down there?
We met there at the property and parked there at the property before everybody kind of met as a group. We had a time that we were going to meet there, so we all met there as a group.
And did you take your vehicle, your crime scene van that you testified is your vehicle for BCI, same basic crime scene van that you use in all your work?
That's correct.
Can you grab that pointer? I'm actually going to have, Your Honor, can I have the witness come down off the stand?
Yeah.
All right, because this is so small, I'm going to have you actually stand in front of the jury and orient them to what's been marked for identification purposes, State's Exhibit AA-117. First of all, do you recognize State's Exhibit AA-117?
Yes, I do.
And can you tell the jury what that is?
That is an aerial photograph of 260 Peterson Road.
Okay, here's how we're going to do this. You're going to do it twice. You're standing right here. I'm going to ask you to orient the jury to the different buildings and the general layout of the property, and you got to come down here to the alternate jurors and do that. So if you could do that for us now, please. Tell the jury what they're seeing in there and what the different buildings are.
Well, I'd like to just say first and foremost that I'm glad to see that the state of Ohio doesn't use a big, huge piece of poster board for a small exhibit.
Part of that property. So this barn here goes with that.
Good job, Ohio, on using
There's another barn here.
poster board wisely,
And this barn
sparingly,
is across from the house.
not wasting. We can't see any of this.
And the property goes all the way back. I forget exactly how many acres there are, but this is all part of it, all the way back in here. And around.
Also, good morning, Amelia. I don't think I said good morning to you, babe. Good morning.
Bring her on down and just basically repeat what you just did.
This is 260 Peterson Road, and this is the barn across from the property. This barn actually goes with this property. So there's the barn that's actually sitting on the property. This is the house. And the property runs, driveway runs up through here.
Oh, no, nonstop,
All
Mom.
part of that property.
Was it Rakita Law?
Big area right
Is that because that's the newest person I've heard that doesn't have YouTube anymore.
Thank you. You can go ahead and take your seat. I'll display this for the jury, and I'm probably going to ask you, as you walk through your work that day, to refer to State's Exhibit AA-117 as we go.
Okay.
Next, as part of your work on May 10th, 2017, did you do a report that documented what you did out there that day?
Yes, I did.
And when you do work in these cases, including assisting investigators in search warrants, do you have
You're
a
not wrong
business
there,
duty
cement
to create these
shoes.
types of reports?
Yes, it's a requirement.
And when you create these reports or make these reports as part of your job, do they truly and accurately depict the work that you did out on any scene on any given day?
Yes, they do.
It is, Amelia. It is a big channel.
I'm handing you what's been marked for identification purposes as State's Exhibit AA. Can you take a look at that for me?
Sure.
Can you tell the jury, what are they looking at with respect to State's Exhibit AA?
You know who else is beefing with YouTube? Russell
This
Brand is beefing with
the
YouTube
report
because they
that I authored,
took a couple of his videos down
which
even after he
explains
edited them.
what we did
Said they
during the
were
search warrant on
contained
May 10th,
misinformation and it was a
2017 at 260
he
Peterson Road.
misstated something.
And with respect to State's
It was a small
AA,
mistake,
was that
but
report
he's
created
even
in the
appealed
ordinary
that
course
even
of your
after the
duty as a
correction
crime
and they
scene
won't
agent
put it
for
back up.
PCI?
Yes, it was.
And again, do you have a business duty to keep and maintain those types of reports documenting the work that you did?
Yes.
You can actually keep it. All right, walk us through, when you got to that property, did you document the way it looked as you got there, before you altered anything, before anyone picked anything up or collected anything?
Yes, the first thing I did was go around the entire property, take photographs to document it as it was upon my arrival. And I also documented the residence, both barns, and then the perimeter of the property, showing the driveways and back behind the property, up a hill into, it was a really, 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 it wasn't a woods, so to speak, but it had a lot of trees on it. So we documented all that first.
Okay. I'm going to show you what's been marked for identification purposes as State's Exhibits AA2 through AA16. I want you to take a look at them, and then actually I'm going to need you to give them back. Do you recognize State's Exhibits AA2 through AA16?
Yes, I do.
How do you recognize them?
Those are photographs that I took that day of the property of 260 Peterson Road.
And do these pictures, State's Exhibits AA2 through AA16, truly and accurately depict the way that property looked on May 10th, 2017?
Yes, it does.
Mr. John, could you give me State's Exhibit AA2, which is 3485?
You know, I've heard that
State's Exhibit
that trial
AA2,
has been something
which
else.
is up on the
So
screen. Are you able to view
I
that there on the
might
computer?
Yes.
If you could,
at
and you
night
can use that pointer
do
as
the
well.
highlights because I want to highlight another trial that's also going on right now. It's the love.
Reach out.
It's this
If you could,
love
tell the jury what they're seeing in that picture, where
triangle
that picture
trial,
is taken, and where it
and
is on
it's
State's
fairly
Exhibit
interesting
AA1.
as well. So we might
The photograph we're looking at now is a photograph of the barn across
have
the
to
road.
do
So
some
the-
sort of, I don't
this
know.
barn here, and it's
Maybe I'll do
the
a poll
photograph
or
is being
something on the
taken
community
from
tab
the
so we can
driveway,
cover these
across
trials.
the road. So I'm
all of
standing here
them.
at this area, taking a photograph towards the barn.
And Mr. Junkie, if you give me the next picture, which is State's Exhibit AA3, just hit the
If you
next
guys
one.
are, because I'm interested in all
Again,
these
can you tell
trials,
us
but
what we're
I
looking
mean,
at there?
obviously,
That's the same barn, and it's
there's only so many
very
hours
similar
in the
to
day.
same location where the photograph was
But-
taken. It's just a closer, it's more of an intermediate view or mid-size view.
Mr. John, can you give me?
I guess that what's going on
3481,
right
which
now is
State's
the
Exhibit
hearings, right?
AA4.
It's not the actual trial. So, because that would be really, that's way too quick.
All right, State's Exhibit AA4. Can you tell the jury what they're looking at there and where that's depicted on the overhead or where that shot's taken from?
That's a photograph of the outside of the residence, 260 Peterson Road. So it's the actual house, and the photograph would have been taken from in this area, and it would have been just taken the outside of the house. So standing there on the property.
And then I think the next picture, 3482, State's Exhibit AA5. Can you tell the jury what they're looking at there?
Again, that's the same.
Yeah, I'll check it out,
general area
Amelia.
Where the photograph was taken from, but it's showing there's a little gazebo area outside of the house. And that's
All
what
right,
that
cement
photograph shows.
shoes.
Mr. John, can you give me 3483? I'm going to direct your attention to State's Exhibit AA6. Again, tell the jury where they're at
Okay.
on the property and what this
I
picture
knew what
is.
you meant, nonstop mom.
This photograph was taken, you can see the gazebo there as you're looking at the photograph on the left side. So I'm standing right there around the outside of the house, and I'm photographing the barn, portion of the barn, this portion right here, which would be the portion closer to the road.
And as you did your work out there, did you document the exterior of that barn?
Yes, I did.
So
Can
this
you
I
give me
this is the
3487,
Wagner's home
which is State Exhibit AA8.
that they're looking at, or they're talking about, I should say, in case you missed that part.
Can you tell the jury what's depicted
I
in
was
State's
talking.
Exhibit AA8?
Probably
I'm
about nothing
standing off
important.
to the side of the house in the driveway area that run up alongside of the house. And that's an overall view of the side of the barn facing the house. And that photograph is from the driveway area.
Mr. Junk 3491, which is State's Exhibit AA9. Can you tell the jury what we're looking at there?
What we're seeing here is a photograph that was taken from the driveway area, but it's back in this area here.
There's another
Closer to
trial
the
that's
road.
happening
And that
too.
photograph is showing the overhang of the
Um,
barn. And
That
it's the same
Teresa
barn that
from
we just saw in the
Criminality
previous
wanted me
picture.
to
It's
look
just another
into.
portion of it.
And those items that are in the middle of
Oh,
the picture in the driveway there,
Gail, thank you
is that the
so
way you found
much.
them when you guys appeared on the property?
I
on May
appreciate
10th,
that. Thank you very
2017?
much.
That's correct.
That's very sweet of you.
State's Exhibit AA10,
Thank
which
you.
is 3490.
Again, that's a photograph taken from the driveway area. The barn that we're we're back here at this barn again.
I'm actually kind of glad they're showing the house, the Wagner's
Taking a
house,
photograph of the
because
barn and or
when Tabitha was
the driveway that
testifying,
goes in
hold on, let
between
me
the
turn
house
this
and
down just a little bit.
the barn.
When
That's
Tabitha
what
was
we're seeing in this
testifying,
photograph.
And with respect to
I was
the
having a hard
outbuildings
time
that are pictured
like
in that photo,
picturing
describe what those
all
are
these people
and
living in this house. You know what I mean? Like I wanted to know the size and stuff. So I'm glad they're
Sat
doing
behind the
this.
house. So they were to the rear of the house, and there were just a couple of
Also, I'm hoping that
outbuildings.
since they're at the Wagner home,
Remember what
this
they were
is
used for.
this testimony is going to start connecting some dots
which is 3493.
with this, as it pertains to George. I think that they've connected quite a few dots with, I mean, Jake and Angela have pled, but
We are
connecting
again at the
George
barn,
is
but we're in
different.
the
You know what I mean?
driveway next to the barn. So we're in between the house, these little outbuildings right here, and the barn. And that photograph is showing
This is in
a
2017
tote
support with
or a
Steffa.
plastic container that was sitting next to the barn.
All right, Amelia
State Exhibit AA12,
Sparkles.
which is 3494. Again, can you tell the jury what they're looking at?
We're in the same general area, taking the photograph from the driveway area, but that's a photograph of the at the end of the driveway, going past the end of the barn, showing the fence and what leads up to the hill there towards the back of the picture.
And again, with respect to these areas that you're picturing, on this day, are these areas that eventually you all did a quick preliminary search and ultimately collected some evidence from?
Yeah, we did kind of a visual on the outside, just kind of seeing if there's anything of evidentiary value that we could see without doing a lot of manipulating of anything. So yeah, we did collect some items of evidence from the outside.
And on this day, did you bring heavy equipment, tools, or anything like that with respect to, or was that part of the plan on this day?
No, that was never part of the plan on this day. This day was just to do a quick preliminary visual, see if there's anything that we need to do further as far as evidence is concerned.
I'm actually kind of hoping that
Can
the
you give
next
me
roast we
State
do,
Exhibit AA13, which is 3495.
Dr. B and I will be together in the same
3495,
house.
where
She's
we at on
coming
the
to
property?
see
What are we
me, but
looking at?
I don't
We
know if
are
she's going to
in
get here
between the
Friday
barn, in between the
or
barn and the
Saturday.
house.
Yes, support with Steffa. So let me just turn this down a little
In the
bit.
driveway that runs from the road on back into the
See if we
property.
can get this
And that's just
timeline
showing another
correct.
barn that was back. It's back.
So,
back part of the property. So, it's back in.
I believe
This is
that
another
at
barn
this
that was on the
point,
property. That's just showing its relationship to
the
where
Wagners no longer own this piece of property.
State Exhibit
It had been sold.
AA15, which is
And
98.
I think that is when they got this search warrant and these photographs were
we were
taken,
at the very rear,
I believe, because it wasn't
big
even
barn
until,
over here.
so the crime happened April 22nd of 2016.
From
And
the driveway,
then
and it's just showing
in
the open
September
end
of
the barn.
2016 was the first time
And
that
then
they
State Exhibit
interviewed Billy Wagner, who had, we listened to his audio yesterday morning, and he had a ton of things and suspects, you know, to give the BCI, but it was that interview and the and them following up on the stuff that he had told them. Most specifically, I think the fact that he referred to Chris Roden Sr. as his best friend, but absent from the interview was any mention of him missing his friend or anything of the sort. Plus, then there was conflicting statements by other people that he and Chris
Yes.
were not best friends. Then you have the whole situation with Tabitha and her reading the Facebook messages between herself and Hannah Mae Roden, as far as you know, their time together, I guess, if you will, at the Wagner home, and how Hannah really wasn't allowed to see her family that's also supported. We're going to watch his testimony tonight because it's interesting. Hannah, Hannah Mae's boyfriend at the time of the murders testified, and he essentially said the same thing, that Hannah told him that she wasn't allowed to see her family. So that begs the question: how how were they best friends?
Yes, it is.
Mr. John, can you give us?
That makes no sense. Good morning, Corky. How are you? Good to see you. Welcome back. Let me
All right, can you tell the jury where
get
we're
back
at,
over here
what
and
they're
turn
looking
this
at
up
in
for
that
you
picture,
guys.
and what area of the property they're on with respect to the big board?
You are at the big barn, and we're on the side, the rear of the barn. So we're back here on this side. For the photographing, I consider this the rear, this the front, and then you got the two sides. So we're at the rear, just showing that open part of the barn.
Can you give me the next picture, Mr. John? Which is State's Exhibit AA18. Can you tell the jury what you're documenting in State's Exhibit AA18?
The same thing, just moving closer to the interior of the barn.
Next picture, which is State's Exhibit AA19.
That again is the moving into the inside of the barn from the backside.
State's Exhibit AA20, which is the next picture. What are we looking at there, and orient us on the diagram where you're at?
So we've changed locations as far as the photograph. So we've moved over to this side of the barn. So we're photographing this side, and then you can see this barn towards the rear of the photograph. So we're right here photographing this direction.
And in that picture, are there multiple, I guess, openings depicted on that side of the barn?
Yes.
Barn, not barn.
Yes, there are. There's several openings.
Can you tell the jury, or just point them out for us?
That's an opening, and that's an opening.
Did you ultimately go in to the barn and document the inside of the barn?
Yes, I did.
Can I get State's Exhibit 356?
Oh, okay. Hang on just a
Visual
second.
picture
Let me turn this
356,
down a little.
State's Exhibit
Always
A.
feel like I'm screaming over them. Okay. So Billy Wagner's statement to BCI
356.
was September of 2016. And one of the first things that he said when he was speaking to them, aside from the fact that
And that's just one of the sections.
Chris Roden Sr. was his best friend, was that he was surprised it had taken BCI so long to come and speak to him. And they explained that they didn't have a good phone number for him, and that what they ended up having to do was go back and re-listen to Jake Wagner's interview with them to get a current phone number for Billy Wagner, because his phone is not in his name. So in the timeline, they don't speak. They spoke to Billy Wagner September of 2016. They're out at the Wagner's property 2017, and the arrest doesn't even come until November of 2018.
This photograph would have been taken from this side, the driveway side, through towards the rear.
Well, apparently Billy thought Billy would be right away as well, and he just wasn't. I guess I think that there was a huge red herring when they started investigating the properties out at the Rodens and then at Kenneth Roden's house, and they found the Grove. I think that distracted BCI momentarily, right? And then on top of which, they were getting, like, they had a tip line set up, and they were getting a ton of tips as well. So they were having to go and vet, all of the tips. and that takes time. And there was, the agent didn't actually get to testify
It's
a whole
different
lot
area of the
about
barn that
why or
partly
what
finished, partly
specifically it
unfinished,
was
and
that Billy Wagner
it's
said to
showing
him, or them, because it
the
was two of them,
intersection of what we're talking
in the truck that day in September when they first spoke to him. He didn't get to really expound on that because because of the ruling from the court that it had to be limited testimony. And so
This is going to be State's Exhibit
because
AA36. State's Exhibit AA36.
the reason that the judge ruled that way is
We are
because
towards
when
this
Billy
side
was
of
giving that statement,
back in this side
um,
of the barn,
he wasn't talking at all about
towards the front.
George Washington Wagner IV. And
What we're
so
seeing there is
that would
just,
technically be considered
in that
hearsay in this
section
trial.
was,
So he was limited on what
just a bunch of
the
wooden stuff,
prosecution
some
was
debris
limited on
that
the
just
questions they
piled
could
up.
ask. And so obviously that limits
That's
the
what's going
answer.
on.
But
It's open
basically,
on the end, and then
the overall picture presented to the jury with respect to that interview was that it is Billy Wagner's statement that day that was the catalyst for the BCI starting to focus their attention less on
that's more of a
the
mid-range shot for that corner of the
grow
barn,
operation, as it
and
were, or even
that's just showing how the things are
members
piled
of the
up,
Roden family themselves, and focus more
debris
on
and
the
stuff that's
Wagner
in that
family.
corner of the barn.
Well, I agree. I would too. I would have sought out law enforcement, but um, even if I look like past that, because some people
Yes.
just innately don't, they have a fear of law enforcement, right? And so if they're asked, and if they're approached by law enforcement, they will speak to them, but they won't volunteer, which that's, I'm not like it. I would probably volunteer, but I would also have an attorney with me, just because I think you should never talk to the cops without an attorney. But that aside, the fact that he continuously referred to him as his best friend, but never said anything like, I miss him, or anything like that. It was just odd. At least for me, it was. I would have just impact. Just because he made such a point to say that he was his best friend, and that the people
Those
that
are
were
multiple
talking
photographs that I
to
took that day
BCI
of the interior,
giving them information
and a couple
didn't
of the
really know
exterior
Chris,
of
and that
the
he wouldn't
house
even
that's
he wouldn't have been
located
talking to
there
them.
on Peterson.
So it's just weird.
That I just handed you, State's Exhibits AA39 through AA92, minus the ones that I put in the record are not in here. Do these truly and accurately depict the way that that house and these areas looked on May 10th, 2017?
That's correct.
Now,
There you go, support
ultimately,
with
as you did your
Steph on May
work out
10th.
here that day, did you and the other agents divide up areas of responsibility with respect to who was searching where?
As far as on the May 10th,
May 10th, yes.
yes.
Okay. And with respect to the house, other than documenting the house, did you have any responsibilities inside that house with respect to searching for evidence?
I did not. Other agents went inside the actual residence. My focus was on the outside of the residence and the outbuildings.
And ultimately, with respect to collection of evidence and taking it into the custody of BCI, were you ultimately responsible for collecting the evidence from the scene on this day?
Yes, I was.
As part of your work, did you also document the outbuildings, or the little outbuildings that you talked about on the property?
Yes, I did.
I'm going to show you what's been marked for identification purposes, State's Exhibits AA93 through AA99. Can you take a look at those for me? Can you tell the jury what those items are?
Yeah,
Those are photographs that I took that day, and they're documenting the outbuildings that sat behind the house, directly behind the house.
State Exhibit AA 93.
It took a
through
while.
Exhibit AA
Support
99,
with
because
stuff
it
for
clearly accurately
them
depicts the way those areas looked on May
to
10th,
really hone in
2017.
on
Yes.
the Wagner
Mr.
family.
John, can I
And
get
remember,
digital picture 30.
they had also moved to Alaska, so that made,
This will
speaking
be
to them
State
even more
Exhibit AA
problematic. You know what I mean?
Can you tell the jury what is depicted there in State's Exhibit AA 93?
We're standing to the side of those outbuildings and taking a photograph of one of the entry doors to that outbuilding, and we're behind the actual residence itself.
And I also am,
Can I
hold
get
on,
digital
let me turn
picture
you down again.
3604,
I also am kind of
which is
thinking
State's Exhibit
that
AA
one of the other reasons the state is being so, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but tedious with presenting this evidence relative to like the crime scene investigation, and then subsequently what we're looking at today, which is the Wagner property. One of them is because, again, this case is circumstantial, and we're living in an era where people expect to hear about DNA, right? And that there's something DNA is linking the person, the defendant, to the crime scene, right? And we don't have that in this case. So I think that they're going through this in the manner that they are because I think they want the jury to know, listen, we didn't just charge George Washington Wagner IV with this simply because of his last name. This was an extensive investigation. You know what I mean? That's what I kind of think they're doing. I do, and I agree, Cement Shoes. I think, yes, they're absolutely being overly careful, but it's a fine line between
virtually the same photos we saw
being
before.
meticulous
It's more of
and
overview
an
and it
over
shows
explanation.
more
You know,
items
it's a
that
very
were in
things get the details get lost. So I just I appreciate what they're doing here, but I think
So
the
that's
jury
stepping through the door we just saw, and
is
that's
sort of
section
probably
of the
feeling
bottom
like I am, and
rear
like a
lid,
lot of
and
us
that's
are,
just the line
is
of the rear
okay,
lid.
now how are we going to tie this to George?
In addition to documenting this little outbuilding, did you also document that other barn that was on the property?
Yeah,
Yes, I did.
let me
I'm
go
gonna show you
in
what's
and
been
get
marked
my
for
phone so I
identification
can look it up
purposes
to
as
be
State
sure.
Exhibits AA 100 through AA 103. Can you take a look at those for me?
Give me just a
Can you tell
second,
the
I
jury
will.
what those are?
Yes, these are photographs that I took of the barn that sits clear back on the property.
It was sometime
This barn here.
in 20
Photographs of that barn there.
at the end of
If you
2016
could,
or
for
at
the
the beginning
jury,
of
in State Exhibit
2017,
AA
I think.
17,
Sure.
Support
you
with
pointed out
stuff.
that
But
barn
I'll
barn in
go
the
head up the
back.
Googles in just a sec.
When you were out there May 10th, 2017, was there a dirt road or an area where you could drive back to the backside of that barn?
There was a way to get there, yes, but it wasn't. I wouldn't define it as a road. It was more of a path.
Okay. And again, did it lead to the backside of that barn back there?
That's correct. Yes.
Mr. Junk, can I get visual image 3606? This will be State Exhibit AA 100. Can you tell the jury what they're looking at there with respect to State's Exhibit AA 100?
We're behind the house and we're in front of that.
I'm going to
barn
look it up because now I just want to
in the
know.
back. And that's the front of that.
And
barn.
I agree. It would be great I'm
Can I
curious
get
about what
visual
was
picture
going on in
3609,
Alaska. Absolutely.
Which is State's Exhibit AA 101.
That is a photograph stepping inside the barn from the main door in the front where we were at in the previous photograph, and that's showing the interior of that barn.
All right, you testified about how you documented that scene on that day. Did you also assist in collecting evidence and taking evidence into custody that other agents found out there that day?
Yes, I did.
I hand you what's been marked for identification purposes as State's Exhibit AA 110. If you take a look at State's Exhibit AA 110.
That's an envelope. It's got an evidence label on it. It says 22 rimfire live ammunition, and it's got the date, it's May 10th, my name, and my initials.
And again, do you recognize that as evidence that was collected as part of the search of 260 Peterson Road on May 10th, 2017?
Yes.
My hand you what's been marked for identification purposes, State's Exhibit AA 111. State's Exhibit AA 111. Can you take a look at that for me?
This is an envelope, and it's got an evidence label on it, and it's dated 5/10. It's got my name on it. It's evidence number 2, and it's live ammunition, 5 22 rimfire cartridges. It's got my name and my initials on it.
I'm going to hand you what's been marked for identification purposes as State's Exhibit AA 115. State's Exhibit AA 115. Can you tell the jury what that is?
This is an envelope that's got an evidence label on it. It's evidence number 6. And it says that there's 4 9mm cartridge casings or fired cartridges. And it's got my name on it and my initials.
Again, do you recognize State's Exhibit A115 as evidence that was collected as part of your work out there, 260 Peterson, on May 10th, 2017?
That's correct.
And as part of your work out there, did you document where those shell casings or how those shell casings appeared when they were collected?
Yes.
I'm going to hand you what's been marked for identification purposes as State's Exhibits AA 107, 108, and 109. Can you take a look at those?
Sure.
And your basis of it?
Not related to the homicide.
We
We
Okay, so I'm reading an article in the Cincinnati Enquirer that was published July 8th of 2017, and it says, Kenai, Alaska, colorful Little Tikes plastic playhouses and slides dot the Wagner family's new backyard. The four-wheelers are parked nearby, just off the side of the gravel driveway and out of the way of the now emptied 40-foot trailer that hauled the family's possessions 4,107 miles from Adams County last month. It is here in the shadow of the Chickmit Mountains of the Aleutian Range, amid the stands of evergreens and under 20 plus hours of sunlight, where the Wagners are working to create their new home. Let's see.
Okay, do you recognize State's Exhibits AA 107, AA 108, AA 109?
Yes.
And can you tell the jury,
Hold
do
on a
those
second. It
pictures
just
truly and
said.
accurately depict
I just read
the
it.
work that you did at 260 Peterson on May 10th,
Last month.
2017?
So,
Yes, I do.
Mr. Junk, can you give me digital picture 3598? Can you tell the jury what they're looking at there?
That would be what, June?
Oh, excuse me, State's Exhibit AA 107.
But I don't think that's
which is
right.
Digital picture 3598.
Hold on,
That's
I'm gonna
just a,
look again.
Medium range photograph showing shell casing that was there in the next to the
Oh, I
house
bet he did. Cement shoes.
drive area.
Let's see.
Mr. Junk, can you give me digital image 3596, which is State's Exhibit AA 108? State's Exhibit AA 108. Can you tell the jury what that depicts?
And that also is a photograph more close up of the shell casing from there in the driveway.
And State's Exhibit AA 109, which is digital picture 3597, just the next picture. Can you tell the jury what they're looking at there?
That's again a cartridge case that was found outside of the house in the driveway area.
And I handed you State's Exhibit AA 115, right?
Okay.
Yes.
So
And those
this
are
is,
what, 9
let me turn
9
this down.
millimeters.
I think I got it.
In addition to
All right. So I think that when this search was conducted, okay, the Wagner family had vacationed in Alaska, because there's another news article from Anchorage Daily News where it says during the spring of 2017 they vacationed in Alaska while authorities in Ohio searched their farmhouse, news reports said at the time. So at that point, when this is all happening, they're in Alaska but not living there. It's just a vacay, and I guess they moved the following month in June to Alaska of 2017, and they lived there for 6 months.
And it's got my name on it.
So,
and my initials.
July, August, September, October, November. They had to have moved in, well, they were arrested November 13th. So,
This is a photograph of various paperwork that was recovered from the property.
I
That I took.
have similar concerns, Corky's. They have got to put, they just have to put him at the crime scene, right? Just at one of them, even. Because you know how the statute is. You don't have to actually pull the trigger or actually be the person who unalives someone else. You just have to be there, right? And so, yeah, they need to.
Yes,
They're gonna have to do it and do it soon,
these
because
are
I
the
can't.
actual
I don't.
items that were
I don't know.
photographed, and packaged into that package.
All right, let me turn this back up.
Paperwork from 260 Peterson Road.
Cement shoes. They probably couldn't take the 20 consecutive days of sunshine where like there's no darkness. Just stays sunny.
All right. From State's Exhibit AA 114, I've identified a document that I've marked as State's Exhibit AA 114A. Again, is that one of the items that you recovered from that trash on May 10th, 2017?
Yes,
Okay. Can you tell the jury what is that?
it's printout. Looks like it's printed from, or it is printed from a Facebook account.
Okay. Does it appear to be a conversation?
Yes.
Okay. an instant message or personal message type conversation from Facebook?
Yeah, it's a chat between two people.
Can you tell the jurors who the two people depicted in that chat are?
David Jenkins and Tabby Breach.
Handing you another item. That I'm marking State's Exhibit AA 114B. State's Exhibit AA 114B. Can you look at that again? Do you recognize that as an item that was in the trash?
Yes, this was, again, it's another printout from Facebook, and it's a conversation between two people.
And can you tell us who the two people in that one are?
Hannah Roden and Angela Wagner.
And May 10th, 2017 was the date that you were out there?
That's correct.
For the record, I have put State's Exhibit AA 114A and AA 114B back in to State's Exhibit AA 114. While you were out there searching in the driveway in the outside area of the house, did you have the opportunity to collect other shell casings?
Yes, I did.
I'm going to hand you what's been marked for identification purposes, State's Exhibit AA 104. State's Exhibit AA 104. Can you read me the digital number on the back of that?
Is 3627.
3627. Can you give me 3627? Can you tell the jury what that exhibit depicts?
That's a photograph from standing in the driveway, and I'm photographing the barn, the big barn, and that plastic container, and it's towards the rear of the big barn on the driveway side. So it's right in this area right here. That's what I'm showing.
Okay. And did you document that as an area where shell casings were recovered as part of the work out there that day?
Yes, there were casings recovered from there.
I'm going to show you what's been marked for identification purposes as State's Exhibit A 116, 116B. AA, I'm sorry, AA 116B. Can you tell the jury, do you recognize the markings on that exhibit?
Yes, this is a paper bag, and it's got an evidence number 7, and it's cartridge cases, miscellaneous, and miscellaneous caliber, and it's from that area that we saw in the photograph, 260 Peterson Road. It's got my name on it and my initials.
And are those shell casings that you collected from 260 Peterson Road on May 10th, 2017?
That's correct.
Can you tell the jury with respect to all the evidence that you collected on May 10th, 2017, how did you collect it? How did you mark it? How did you store it? And how was it maintained?
The evidence was collected in the same manner as any other evidence would have been collected. wearing gloves, packaging in proper packaging, which was paper envelope or even potentially a cardboard box. And then I took custody of all the evidence. I transported it to BCI and put it in our temporary evidence room, which, if you remember, I described when I was talking about the crime scene. It's a secure room. It takes a pass key. It's under video surveillance, and it's lockers and locked, and it's very secure. So that's where it was temporarily stored until it was moved from there and either gone to the lab or into the main evidence room inside the BCI.
And at some point, well, let me back up. I am going to walk you through the house real quick. You testified as part of your work out there, you actually documented the interior of that house. Is that correct?
That's correct.
I'm going to hand you what's been marked for identification purposes as State's Exhibit AA40, which is digital picture 3506. Can you tell the jury what they're looking at there with State's Exhibit? What is it? AA40?
40.
AA40.
That's a photograph from inside the actual residence on Peterson Road, and it's just inside the door on the wall.
I'm going to ask Mr. Junk to put up State's Exhibit AA43, which is digital picture 3507. Can you tell the jury what we're looking at there?
That's, again, inside the residence, and that's showing the living room area.
Next picture, 3508, which is Exhibit AA46.
That's standing in the living room area and taking a photograph.
Welcome back,
towards the back
Nonstop
of the house.
Mom.
State's Exhibit AA48, which is digital picture 3510.
That's one of the rooms in the house. That's just showing, that's just a photograph from walking into the room, just showing what's on the walls.
State's Exhibit AA49, which is 3511. Next picture. Can you tell the jury what we're looking at there?
And again, that's one of the rooms in the house, the living room area, and that's just showing what's on the walls.
State's Exhibit AA50, which is 3513. Tell the jury what we're looking at there.
That's a photograph showing a small hallway in between a couple of the rooms inside the house.
State's Exhibit AA51.
Oh,
which is
interesting,
next to-
Nonstop Mom.
That's the kitchen area.
I
of
would
the
love
house.
to know
That's
if there was
standing
such a
as you
thing.
The photograph's taken from the standpoint of entering the room and then just showing at the entrance what the room looks like.
Mr. Junk, just skip ahead two. Actually, just one, actually. Okay, I go one more. All right. State's Exhibit AA52, which is digital picture 3516. You tell the jury what they're looking at there.
That's the kitchen of the residence, and they're standing right there where we saw that table capturing the rest of the room.
Next picture. State's Exhibit AA53. Can you tell the jury what we're looking at there?
That's the same.
3517. There you go.
That's again in the kitchen, and that's just showing the appliances that are there, the cabinets, counter area.
State's Exhibit AA54, which is 3591. You tell the jury what's depicted there.
That's in the kitchen in one of the cabinets, and that's just showing, that's a photograph showing the live 22 rounds that were found.
And did you collect those and testify to your collection of those exhibits?
Yes, I did.
State's Exhibit AA 58, which is 3520. You tell the jury what they're looking at there.
You're seeing again, in the kitchen, the refrigerator and the cabinets, the wall cabinets, and there's a door off to if you're looking at the photograph, the door's off to the left-hand side.
Digital picture 3521, which is State's Exhibit AA 59.
That's a photograph standing from outside of the bathroom area of the house and photographing from the doorway into the room.
Digital picture 3525, which is State's Exhibit AA 61.
And that's a photograph that's showing another room, another bedroom that was inside the house.
AA 62, which is 3526.
It's that same room we saw before, but just a photograph showing more of the room.
State's Exhibit AA 66, which is digital picture 3535. What are we looking at there?
That's a photograph that leads to the downstairs part of the residence.
AA 67, which is 3536. Can you tell us what we're looking at there?
We're downstairs. We came down those stairs we saw in the previous photograph, and that's as you get to the bottom of the stairs.
AA 68, which is 3537.
Again, that's in the downstairs portion, and that's just showing more of the downstairs from the stairwell.
At some point, did you go to the upstairs area of the house?
Yes.
I'm going to show you State's Exhibit AA 72, which is digital picture 3541. Can you tell us what we're looking at there?
That would be on the upstairs, one of the rooms that was upstairs in the house.
State's Exhibit AA 73, which is 3542. Can you tell us what we're looking at there?
And again, that's from the same room, just showing an overview of the rooms upstairs.
At some point, did you document the back of the house and the different entry and exit points out of the back of the house?
That's correct.
I'm going to show you State's Exhibit AA 83, which is 3553. You tell the jury what they're looking at there?
That's a photograph of the rear of the house, and it's showing, obviously, there's a deck there, and there's an entry door into the main level of the house. And then down below that, on the bottom right part of the picture, you see a door into the lower part of the house.
State's Exhibit AA 84, which is 3556. Can you tell the jury what that is?
That's going through that door on the bottom right that we just looked at, and that's walking into the basement or cellar area of the house.
And State's Exhibit AA 86, which is digital picture 3558. Can you tell the jury what they're looking at there?
That's actually stepping into that cellar basement area, and just an overview of what's down there.
And again, with respect to your documentation of that residence, did you document all the levels, all the rooms, including the cellar area, and more completely than the pictures that we've shown the jury?
That's correct.
And are those incorporated in the stack that I originally showed you?
Yes.
You talked about your collection of State's Exhibit AA 116B. At some point, after you collected this evidence, did you take it back to BCI, or eventually did it make some of the evidence make its way to the firearms lab?
That's correct.
Okay. State's Exhibit AA 116B that you've identified. Could you open that for us?
Sure. Okay.
And can you remove that and tell the jury what it is?
These are individually packaged in plastic packages, various shell casings.
Okay. And from those shell casings, did you submit those to the lab? From those shell casings, did you pick shell casings to be submitted to the lab for Matt White to examine?
That's correct.
Okay. You can put them back. And do you recognize on those different baggies, do you recognize the markings of Matt White from the lab?
That's correct.
I'm going to show you what's been marked for identification purposes as State's Exhibit AA 116. State's Exhibit AA 116. Do you recognize BCI markings on that item?
This is an envelope. It's got my writing on it, my name, my initials, and it says that it's 22 caliber cartridge case from driveway, search warrant 260 Peterson Road, and it's also got an evidence label and a laboratory label.
And is that one of the items that you collected from, or one of the shell cases you collected from 260 Peterson Road on May 10th, 2017?
That's correct.
Does that identify the type or the caliber of that?
Yeah, it's 22 caliber cartridge case, so it's a 22 caliber.
I'm going to show you State's Exhibit AA 116A. Again, do you recognize the markings on that envelope?
Yes, it's an envelope. It's dated 5/10/2017. Search warrant 260 Peterson Road. It's got my name on it, my initials, an evidence label. It says 22 caliber cartridge case from driveway, and it's got a laboratory label on it.
With respect to those two exhibits that you just identified, State's Exhibit AA 116 and State's Exhibit AA 116A, are those items that you collected from Peterson and gave to Matt White at the lab to examine further?
That's correct.
Without going into anything that Mr. White said, the other Mr. White said, do you know whether or not he conducted an examination or comparison of those items?
Yes, he did.
And again, without going into anything that he said, did he give you an opinion on his findings with respect to his comparisons?
Yes, he did.
And without going into anything that was said, based on that opinion, did you and the investigators in this case seek another search warrant of 260 Peterson Road?
Yes, we did.
And did you conduct that search warrant or seek that search warrant very quickly?
Yes.
On May 12th, 2017, did you actually participate in another search warrant of Peterson Road?
We had met together on the 11th, and investigators got together and formulated a plan to be able to go to Peterson Road again on the 12th and execute another search warrant on the property.
Let me back you up just a little bit before we go into that search. With respect to the shell casings that you collected from the driveway, again, was this just kind of a preliminary search, the May 10th? Was that just kind of a preliminary search to grab initial evidence?
Right. It was just a visual examination. There was no I want to say digging or earth moving or any of that type of stuff. It was just strictly visual and just to kind of see some of what we could see on the surface there in the area.
And with respect to the shell casings that you did collect and take back to the lab, did it appear as though those shell casings had been on the ground for a while?
Yes.
And again, based on your knowledge, your training, your experience in collecting this kind of evidence, did you recognize that from the condition they were in when you observed them at the scene?
That's correct.
Now, let's go to May 12, 2017. May 12, 2017, was there another search warrant obtained and executed out there at 260 Peterson?
Yes, there was.
And if you could, talk us through, again, with respect to logistics, size, scope of this search warrant, how did that compare to the search warrants you did on May 10th?
When the investigative team met on the 11th and decided to do the search on the 12th, it was planned out much differently than what we did there. Our initial preliminary, where we were just going to do a visual search and minimal manpower. At this
All
second
right.
search that we were planning,
Thank you, Nonstop Mom. I will
gonna
definitely check
require
that out,
a lot of
and
manpower,
we'll
and it was going to
talk about it tonight.
There's no way we're going to be able
Thank
to
you for looking that up.
keep it quiet, so to
appreciate
speak,
that.
like we were trying to do there on the first time. So we got together, we made a plan, we got manpower together, we utilized the STAR team, which is from the Department of Rehabilitation and Corrections for manpower. We had several BCI agents that also assisted, and a couple of the deputies. We had Pike County deputies helping, and Major Lewis, and also there was an Adams County deputy that was there with us as well. So we had significant increase in manpower, significant increase in what resources we were going to use to do the search. This search, unlike the first one, this search was an exhaustive search, which means we were going to do everything we possibly could. We had rakes, shovels, we had sifters, we had all kinds of different things, tools to use to really go through and search the outside of the property.
Okay. And when you were setting up the planning of this search and the logistics, understanding that was going to be a bigger operation, again, without going into what was said, were you doing this with the knowledge of what Matt White had found on his comparisons?
That's correct.
Now, again, with respect to the May 12, 2017 search at Peterson Road, how did you go about doing that? Did you divide up into teams? Did certain people have certain areas? Was it a grid search? How did you set up the logistics of that search?
On that particular search on the 12th, it was encompassing the entire property. So with the exception of the interior of the house. So everything outside of the house is what was planned to be searched. And that included going up the back hill into the wooded area, and also the interior of all the outbuildings and surrounding all of the outbuildings. So what we did was we set up what they call a grid search or a line search, and everybody except for me, I was not part of the actual line to begin with. I was photographing, although we'd already did it the previous day. I was retaking pictures, and they walked in a straight line about shoulder width apart and looked at the ground, and if they saw anything, then they would stick a flag out. And then I would come up, when I saw the flag, I would rephotograph whatever they had marked. I would mark it myself with a placard, rephotograph it, and then collect it and package it.
Okay. And again, with respect to your work on May 12th, 2017, at this scene, did you also do a report documenting the work that you did?
Yes, I did.
And again, do you have a business duty to create and maintain these reports as part of your work?
Yes.
And I'm going to hand you what's been marked for identification purposes as State's Exhibit BB. State's Exhibit BB. If you could take a second, take a look at that.
That is the report that I created after the search on May 12th, 2017 at 260 Peterson Road.
And does that report truly and accurately depict the work that you and the team did on Peterson Road on May 12th, 2017?
Yes, it does.
And again, was that report created and maintained in the ordinary course of your business as an agent with BCI?
Yes.
If you could, walk us through, you talked about the grid search. If you could, was there a flow or a pattern to the way that you documented and marked evidence at that scene that day?
We started at this barn here across the road, and we documented it, photographed it, marked any evidence that was there, and then I came along and put the yellow number placards down to identify it individually. And we started there, and then we came over, started in the driveway of where the Peterson Road address is. So we started in the driveway, and then we just started working back towards the back of the property and both sides, and then ended up back in here as the final search.
Okay. And as you conducted the search that day, did you find, document, and collect shell casings that were on that property?
Yes, I did.
All right, I'm going to hand you what's been marked for identification purposes as state's exhibits BB1, BB2, and BB3.
I'm probably good
Good,
to
take a
go
look at
for
those.
like
You
another
recognize those exhibits.
3 minutes. Then I got stuff I got to
Yes.
get done.
Can
And
you tell the jury
although
those
I do-
exhibits truly and
hold
accurately
on,
depict
I don't want to be
the way
yelling
260
over
Peterson,
you,
that area of
counselor.
260 Peterson Road.
I am watching this,
Yes, it is.
but at the same time, there is stuff I have to do, and I can put this on the TV. And also, I want to look into the podcast that Nonstop Mom talked about, so we can, because I'm curious about their life in Alaska as well. So I think what I'm going to do is stop sharing and go ahead and end this live stream. Thank you guys for being here this morning. Thank you so much for supporting me and just being a cool chat. And we will reconvene tonight at 9 Eastern. I hope you guys have a great rest of your Wednesday. Geez, Jen, that was yesterday. Great rest of your Thursday, and I'll see all of you guys tonight. All right. Okay, bye.